Thank you for coming to this presentation. I'm glad to see you all. My name is Amridunan from Jakarta, Indonesia. In this presentation, we will discuss about challenges towards food disaster management in Depok City using a recommendation system with analytical hierarchy process method. The food disaster in Depok City has become a routine disaster that occurs every rainy season. The growth factors of residential areas and spatial planning, especially water absorption, that are not appropriately managed cause Depok City to experience floods. When there is a flood, there is much damage to production factors that impact damage and losses so that it has an impact on economic, social, and environmental growth. The impact of floods can disrupt people's lives and livelihood caused by natural and non-natural factors and human factors so that they can result in property losses, the economic sector, resulting in fatalities from the social sector, damage to public facilities in the environmental sector. From the above problems, the author proposed an analysis of determining the priority of handling problems when a flood occurs in the city based on the SPK method by collecting quantitative data through distributing questionnaire using Google Forms. The purpose of collecting quantitative data is to carry out the analysis process in obtaining decision recommendation to determine the priority scale of government needs in handling foods in the city. Statement of problem. How to analyze a decision to determine the priority of government needs in handling foods in the city and applying the analytical hierarchy process ASP methods using the expert choice 11 application. Scope. The scope of the research is diversity. Using the analytical hierarchy process ASP method, determine the priority scale of food handling in the city based on the criteria and sub-criteria set. There are three sectors, namely economic, social, and environment. Using expert choice 11 software to help determine a decision with many criteria with the ASP method. Use the Google form to charge respondents. Objective of the study, analyzing and assisting the government in members of the priority decision recommendation in handling foods in the city of Depok, which uses the ASP method. Research method, planning states, analysis states, designing states, and then implementation state. Planning states about literature review, analysis, design, and data processing. And then analysis states containing data requirement analysis, analysis of non-functional requirements, and then analysis of the ASP method. Here, research design, background of the study, after the identification of problem, study of literature, determine the criteria and sub-criteria, design criteria and sub-criteria into the hierarchical structure, data collection, questionnaire, use the ASP method, use the expert choice software. After the obtain order of priority for handling needs. Writing reports based on the expected result. And then this is stages in ASP. Define the problem and determine the criteria and sub-criteria for choice. Determine the value of criteria and sub-criteria. Calculation of value, and then get the final value of priority. Yeah, expert choice 11 implementation results. One, ASP process for criteria. The questionnaire results are input in the form of pairwise. comparison metric from each respondent was to be validated by obtaining a consistent or inconsistent ratio. If it is inconsistent or below 10%, then the data will not be used as sample data. The average result of the agent values of all sample data for the three criteria. 2. The ASP method for sub-criteria on economic sector. The average results of processing with ASP, where transportation is an essential economic sub-criteria in handling food disaster in Depok City, with a value of 0.332, the second service marketing with a value of 0.298, the third with a value of 0.220 in industry, and the last rank is agricultural plantation with a value of 0.150. The result of the consistency ratio for the economic sub-criteria produce a consistency ratio value of 0.00227 and less than 0.1, so that it can meet the consistent requirement of 100 sample data. 3. ASP method for sub-criteria on social sector. The result average processing with ASP, where health is an essential social sub-criteria with a value of 0.310, then housing with a value of 0.251, security with a value of 0.227, and the community with a value of 0.131. From the result of the ASP for the social sub-criteria, the consistency ratio value of 0.00229 is smaller than 0.1, so that it can be said that it has met the consistent requirement of 100 respondents in assessing the social sub-criteria and is less than 0.1, so that it can meet the consistent requirement of 100 sample data. 4. The ASP method for sub-criteria on the environmental sector. Food disaster management requires environmental determination. Public facilities is the first recommendation on environmental sub-criteria for food management in Depok City, with a value of 0.330. Housing and security are also required for food disaster of 0.251 and 0.227 respectively, and water source with a value of 0.192. As a result, the sub-criteria in the environmental sector got a consistency ratio value of 0.00054, and it was smaller than 0.1, so that it can be explained that it had met the consistent requirements of 100 respondents in assessing the environmental sub-criteria. 5. The synthesis with respect to goal for recommendation on food disaster management in the city of Depok. However, based on the overall ranking of the sub-criteria without grouping the criteria, where the first 3 ranks are as follows. Public facilities are the first recommendation from all sub-criteria in priority for food disaster management in Depok City with a value of 0.133. The proposed recommendation in the second rank is held with a value of 0.129, and the recommendation decision from the third order is employment with a value of 0.125. The last recommendation is agricultural plantation with a value of 0.027. 6. The hierarchy of recommendation on food disaster management in Depok City with analytical hierarchy process, ASP methods. The result of recommendation for food disaster management in Depok City For each criterion are transportation. For the economic sector, health, for the social sector, and in the environmental sector, the recommendation is public facilities. And while based on the flood disaster management in Depok City, the social sector became the first recommendation with a value of 0.417. The second recommendation was a sector based on environmental criteria with a value of 0.403. And the third recommendation with a value of 0.181 for the economic sector. Its criterion obtains recommendation from its sub-criteria shown on the economic criteria. The first sub-criteria is transportation. The first on the social criteria is health. In contrast, the environmental criteria propose the sub-criteria for public facilities. And then the conclusion. Quantitative measurements were carried out by filling out questionnaires and taking 100 respondents sample data from people who live in Depok City and are over 22 years old and have met the requirements for a tolerance consistency ratio of 10% or less than 0.1. The result of each respondent as well as the recommendation as system decision are obtained using ASP for handling food disaster in Depok City. Recommendation for food disaster management were according to the ranking in the criteria social sector with a value of 0.417 is the first rank, and the last rank is the economic sector with a value of 0.18. While the recommendation based on the sub-criteria are public facilities with a value of 0.133, which is the main priority as recommendation, and the last recommendation based on the sub-criteria is agriculture plantation with a value of 0.027. Thank you for your great attention, ladies and gentlemen. That's all. Thank you.